All righty, welcome back to the Circling Seattle Sports podcast. I am your host, as always, Charles Hamaker. This is the 154th episode of the show itself. We're getting up there, geez. And the 47th installment in the Seattle interview series. Today, I am joined by Washington Husky men's soccer player Gio Miglietti. And you can correct me if I did that wrong.
No, that's spot on. That was
Perfect.
it. That was
Glad I
it.
got that right. Currently with, unless I'm wrong, you can correct me too, with the men's team in your senior year. I know that with the way that the years of eligibility work, it kind of messes things up, but I imagine you're a senior now, if I am correct.
Yeah, I'm a senior, gonna be having my fifth and final season with the
Yep.
Huskies next fall.
So looking forward to that, obviously. And then just to recognize you and then the accomplishment here in the 2021 season as an all Pac-12 honorable mention. I mean, how have things been for you? Are you sort of started to gear up with spring and stuff, or have you been trying to take it easy? How have you, been since we last saw the guys, I guess, down in North Carolina?
We were good. I mean, we took some time off, enjoyed the family, enjoyed what we accomplished, but I think everyone was kind of on the same message, and including myself, having to step up and take a leadership role now as one of the older guys that, come springtime, which we're in, it's like we want to achieve what we didn't fully achieve last season, and it's needs to start now. It can't wait until summer, or it can't wait until fall, because it's already too late. We need to start preparing now, working on the little things, and we've really geared back up. Have had a couple games in, a couple learning points that we've learned throughout the game, just new formation, new positions, younger guys getting more of a responsibility role this year, as we were like a really old team last year. So it's been really good. I mean, I've been happy. I've actually switched positions since last year. So from going on forward, I will be playing, as of right now, center back.
Oh, wow. That is an interesting, because I know that in researching this, Coach Clark talked about you being able to play anywhere on the field, in the middle of the field, from center forward to center back. So that's interesting to hear. I appreciate that. That'll be exciting to look forward to. With that, oh shoot, I had something, but I lost it. Anyway, we'll go into the earlier years, as we look at your career as a timeline here. What was your first introduction to the game of soccer? I mean, was it, your parents encouraging you to play the game, maybe had too much energy as a kid, had to get you out of the house? Was it a friend of yours that played the game? Was there someone maybe you looked up to that played the game of soccer? How did you ultimately get into the sport that you are in?
Honestly, it was something I was just born around, honestly. My dad played soccer all the way into college. My grandfather, that lives in Las Vegas, he played and went semi-pro in Uruguay. Very just my whole dad's side, everyone played soccer. Everyone played it. Everyone loved watching it. It was something that was always on the TV. So at a very young age, I was just shown into the world of soccer, and I've just always been in love with it. Apparently, according to my parents, my first word was ball. So, and I guess it was a little bit meant to be, but we will see.
So, with that being said, I mean, I'm being around the game and having those relatives that played the sport. Did you look up to them growing up in relation to the game, or was there maybe a player that you envisioned yourself or tried to embody yourself as growing up, or is it maybe one of those family members that you listed?
I would say, like, growing up, the players I like idolized were Diego Forlan, Luis Suarez, Diego Godin. Those were like the guys I always like loved and admired, because just like growing up Uruguayan household with my dad, they were very passionate for the game, and they would tell me to watch those players because of just how much passion they had behind the game, the grit. And that's just something like I've tried to replicate in my game, is like, every time I step on the field, it's like I'm gonna lay everything I have on the field, like grit wise. Like, I'm not gonna get outworked on that pitch.
So, with that being said, was there any other sport that played a role in your life growing up, or was it kind of tunnel vision to soccer?
Actually, my mom, like, even though I was around it with my family, my mom was like, don't pressure him into soccer. Let it come to him. Let him do other sports. Honestly, it was really swimming. I was a big
Wow.
swimmer. When I was 8, I was like swimming at the YMCA with like the 16-year-olds, and it
Oh,
was just like it was pretty. From what I hear, I don't remember too much. I just remember I was swimming against the 16-year-olds at the YMCA when I was 8. But uh, my parents said they thought that was going to be the route for me, but that when the age came to decide between swimming and soccer, I chose soccer, and that's been that ever since. But swimming was definitely something very big, honestly, just because of stamina and endurance was something I was able to really work on in the water. And it's something that I know in the off season during summer and stuff, like go work out in the gym and then go hit the water for a bit afterwards to just swim and like just try to build it up a little more.
it's always really interesting to me to see where different players, might have added something, like that with the stamina aspect through different sports. I know that it's encouraged, like you said, not to fully push soccer onto you as a child, just kind of letting that come to you. It's always really interesting to hear what steps some of these athletes have taken along the way and what might have been taken from these different sports. I always like sort of seeing how that goes. Um, so, you talked about working to be the best on the pitch. I mean, did you have something that really stuck out to you as primary motivation, or was it just trying to better yourself and be the best player, best version of yourself that you could be? Was there something that stuck out, or
I think it was just say like I think just the love for the sport itself. I think it was just I wanted to get better and I wanted to be on the field and play. It's something that really pushed me to like really try to at least freshman year break into like the starting 11 or onto the dressing squad, like because at my first half of the season my freshman year I just didn't play. I was looking like it was going to be a redshirt season, and then I just kept working because I want to be on that pitch as long as I possibly can. So having just like the will to try to work my way in, and then once I was in I just didn't want to get out. I think it's a competitive nature that it's always been instilled to me by my like parents that really made me want to step up, I would say.
so with that, uh, jump over to Sounders Academy. How do you ultimately reflect on your time there? I know that Dylan went through Sounders Academy and went through different aspects of that. I mean, what was that time like for you? I know now it's a little bit different with the way that that's all structured, but how do you reflect on your time there?
I think it was really good actually. I really enjoyed it. That's when I made the big transition, like coming from California to Sounders, that I went from being like a holding midfield slash attacking a 6 or an 8 in the midfield to really like now I'm a 6 or a center back at Sounders. And then getting time with what's now Tacoma Defiance was like very huge for me, and playing in those like important spots as like center back, playing in that pro league was just something I won't forget, and it definitely prepared me mentally for college. That's why I think like it helped me in the aspects of my game that I didn't really know I needed to work on until I hit that level.
And so before we take that step over to Washington, were there any other schools that were potentially in the mix for you come the college route, or was it again just sort of tunnel vision into one spot? You only had your eyes set on one destination.
Um, I would say there was a couple schools around Cali that just I had talked to. Ultimately, it came down to like I think it was Cal State Fullerton and UW, just because of how close it was to home and what they were trying to do there. I really liked. I knew some of the coaches, and then I was going to be really close to my family, which is something that I cherished. But I think ultimately it was just like what I was going to get out of college if I came to UW, and what I was going to get out of it for furthering my career in soccer that really ultimately made my decision to come to UW.
So then with Washington, I know you touched on it a decent amount. With the program being the way that it is and how much success it's seen, not only, as a team, obviously you look at your guys' season last year, but also the guys that have gone pro, obviously last year, but throughout the years. How do you approach your freshman? I know you talked about it. Was there frustration? Were you looking to just kind of be a sponge and sort of uh, pick up knowledge from some of the older guys? How did you, before we get into that season and actually playing in it, how did you look at that year heading into it?
I knew that coming in as a freshman, I was gonna need to really try to be comfortable where I was gonna play at. Because when I came in, I wasn't fully sure what position I was gonna play because, like Jamie said before, and you brought up that like I could have played anywhere in the spine of the field. And I remember during preseason my freshman year, I was actually training at center back at first, and then come along like the first preseason game, we like come to like the extra 30 minutes that we had to like be able to try out some of the newer guys, and I was one of them, and I went in as forward, and I was a little bit caught off guard, but it's like I have to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, like Jamie normally says. And I think I try to listen and I try to ask as many questions as I could to help out in my game, whether that be to older guys or to the coaches. But just being coachable, I think, helped me be able to find my spot that I could break into the starting 11 as quickly as I could. Not being so tunnel vision that I didn't like, no, this is my spot. This is where I'm going to play. I'll wait if I have to. It was more of just like, you know what, like put me where I can get onto the field.
So you talked about earlier before that one about just trying to be on the pitch as much as possible and playing this game. Did you do anything, I guess, drastically or maybe routine wise, like in the off season, like where at this kind of time period that we're at now in the year between the freshman and the sophomore year to really change how things went? Because if you look at that sophomore season, you were one of 5 guys to appear in all 21 matches. Was there a different approach that you were taking, or was it just sort of building off of what you had begun to the mindset that you had got into as the freshman season progressed?
I think it was a lot that had to do with my end of year meeting that I had with Jamie and the other coaches, that my strength and my ability in that forward position was going to be being able to be a target forward and be able to hold people off and hold the ball, control it, and make good, accurate passes off of that. So during that time period, I really like worked on like my leg strength, like squatting, trying to get in the weight room to just be strong enough to hold a fifth year off my back if it came down to it. That just like at practice, if the guy was 6'3" and like 190, 195, just absolutely just big guy, that I was going to be able to win my battle with them and hold the ball off in order for us to push up the field. That was something that I knew. I was like, this is something that differentiates myself from everyone else on the team in my position. And it's something that I'm going to make so well and so perfected that I'm crucial to be on the field in order to give us that opportunity to push up. And that's something I really leaned into, like knowing my strength, but then also it was my fitness that also played a factor in just making sure that I was able to last as long as I needed to with pushing someone off of me. So that also had to come a lot with trying to balance gaining weight, muscle weight, but also being able to maintain that weight and keep the endurance level higher than what I wanted.
So yeah, certainly juggling a lot. Right, certainly adding a lot there. But obviously it's, part of it that is really interesting to hear about that, how, you juggle a lot just to get into it. I guess to steer off course a little bit, have you had to do anything sort of like that with moving back to the back line, or is it not as much of a change, I guess, and how you're preparing your body? Do you get, I guess what I mean, is there?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think again, a little bit of just like trying to balance like my strength to be able to win my battles and aerial duels, but then I think it's a lot more of my persona being a leader on this team now, of just being able to direct the team out of the back and at least communicate so that everyone can hear me, and along with the back line, being able to move the line when we need to step up, when we drop back. I think it's just more of now working on my voice and being loud and being heard by the team, and trying to earn those guys' respect. I think I have most of theirs, hopefully, but at least the respect to like listen to my voice during the game. And if it comes down to it, just be able to single out my voice when they're unsure, and I'll direct. I've been screaming the last couple games we've had here, and after the games, I've lost my voice a little bit here and there just because I haven't been doing this for a while. And, it's something that I got to just get back into, but we're getting better. The vocal cords are working more now.
Yeah, I mean, with that leadership aspect, I know you said you talked about last year's group being sort of an older group and you now being one of the, I guess, elder statesmen of the group. I mean, do you think about that being like an older guy? I know that at one point I talked to Kristen McNabb when she was still in the Reign, and she was heading into her, I think, fourth or fifth year, and being called a veteran didn't really hit her to that point. I was like, that feels kind of weird. I'm still kind of getting my legs under me. How do you approach that sort of leadership role? Is it something you've embraced, or is it still kind of like getting used to that, especially with talk about building from the back in the center back role?
Definitely, I think I've definitely embraced it a lot more. But something we've just always said, like from my sophomore year when I started playing a lot more, like you don't need to be the captain to be a leader on this team. And it's just one of those things that, yeah, like I'm an old guy, but if someone sees something like on the field and needs to speak up, like we all need to be leaders in our own spot. Like it's something that Jamie has talked to me before, of just being a leader, like up top. And if I'm going to be that target forward, that I need a voice to be yelling at guys underneath me to come with me as soon as I'm holding that ball up. And it's something that's like always in the back of your mind as you're here a couple of years, and it's hitting that time of like, what, this is the final season, gonna have to actually like set the bar and let everyone else know, like this is what we expect out of this program. This is what we've always worked for. It's something we've all embraced. I think as least my class and the classes before me, we've all tried to set that example. So I'm just trying to do right by the older guys that led the way for me and lead the way for the younger guys.
I had a kind of cool moment there when you were talking about setting that example and essentially passing that down, right? Because I'm 99% sure Dylan said something exactly like that. And so to know that that is something that is getting passed down, right, just definitely adds to it. Because like obviously making a great program and a consistent program, the players of the talent's going to be great, and the coaching's got to be great. But just knowing that that's getting pushed, passed down group by group is a big part of that. And that is definitely, I was like, that sounds a lot like something I've heard before. So I mean, to know that that's evident is really cool. And to hear that continuing is also cool. I mean, this is something that you can tell me no to. I asked Christian Soto the same thing the other day, but are you able to reflect on the season as a whole, including that title game now? Is it too early to look at that? Or is it like, hey, we've acknowledged it, we've looked at it, and we know what we need to improve on this upcoming season? Because last season was full of great moments. I'm sure you know much better than I. What I remember most is that St. Louis game when the crowd was insane here in Seattle. I always try to capture the crowd in videos, but the sound quality just does not do it any justice. It was really loud, and that's not like an arena where all the sound is captured. This is an open air facility, and it was a really great atmosphere. How do you reflect on last season and obviously ultimately the title game now that it's ended fully?
Yeah, I think it's hard to talk on that. I don't think like as a team we've really gone over it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've looked at it, addressed it, and kind of like moved on. Not in a bad way. We've took some learning points, but I think the learning points are like, look at how we were in the fall as a team in the locker room. I think it was more of like how we treated each other, how we had the standard high practice, and how we made sure every game counted. Um, I've always said like coming back into the season, like, you know what, like we did really good. We really achieved something great, but we can't let that be our story right now. Like next season, we're gonna have a target on our back from coming where we went from, like how we reached the highest game we could have possibly reached last season. And people are gonna see us as something like a chance to prove themselves from what we achieved. So we can't let up now. And it's something that we didn't even achieve our full goal because of course we want to win the national championship. That's the game that we want to win. And we were so close and we were there. We just, things didn't turn out that way. And it's one of those things that you turn back on, you accept, move forward, and we're trying to reach that same exact endpoint again, just a different result this time.
Yeah, I think the word that you used there, that accept word, is important because I think, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I play. I don't play at the college level, obviously. But anytime you lose a title game in anything, I know that's not gonna be easy, and I'm sure it's not always easy to just fully accept that. So that it's good to know that that's how that group responds, and obviously how you talk about the target on the back, how that group, you guys respond to it. A lot of times there's like two paths with title teams. Well, teams that reach the title game is either they're able to rebound from it and take that experience and build on it, or ultimately it ends in not the best way, but I'm not going to look at that way. Kind of shifting gears in a little bit of a way, going backwards before we try to encapsulate Coach Clark as a whole, because I've heard things about him. What was your visit with Washington like? I know we're in the middle of the Washington section, but we're going back to the front. But in reading about it, it sounds like it really was almost like an eye-opening thing. I mean, how was your visit, and how was your first impression of Coach Clark when you made that? I guess I don't know if the decision was made there, but it seemed like it obviously swayed you.
Yeah. From what I remember, it was a while ago, actually, now thinking back. Wow. Been here a while. Definitely, definitely was a very good visit. I remember they played against Seattle U at home when Henry Wingo was still here.
Oh wow, yeah.
And yeah, Henry Wingo was still here. He was playing and they won at home. And I just remember like the atmosphere, like the whole stands were packed. And it was just something that at Cal State Fullerton I never witnessed. And I think that's something that like made it for me like, wow, like this was incredible. This was like something amazing. That just seeing like the locker room environment around the guys as well, like how much fun they have with each other. And even us now, like we try to embody that. It's like we start in the locker room. That's like where we are as a group. And I think Jamie always like reminds us, he's like very, very nice coach. Definitely was like really relaxed and cool, calm, collected on my visit. And he's just one of those guys that you could tell he sets the bar with how we want to be in the locker room, but he doesn't dictate it. He will stay out of it and let older guys set the tone, because at the end of the day, if the coach is telling us be nice in the locker room, like it sounds more like a chore than us actually enjoying it. So he lets us know what he wants, but at the same time, he knows when to let us control us versus him trying to be controlling everything. But I would say Jamie is definitely a very different coaching than what I was used to growing up. They're very, very, a lot more strict when I was growing up, and a lot more like just straightforward, very disciplined. Like we're running, we're getting fitness this way. But Jamie's more with like, I want to have you guys do fitness with the ball, or we're going to do this with the ball, or a lot more game focused. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, because with the last few guys I've talked to, that have been on the team, it's like, oh, Coach Clark has his quirks, but he's a great coach. It is interesting to hear about that, especially though, that game against Seattle U. I remember seeing a couple of those in person. The last one I remember, I think, was the women's one this year over at Seattle U. The crowd was packed. It was high energy game. And even at the other games I went to, both teams, I mean, like you said, the crowds were always really good. Even I remember, I think one of the games, well, the St. Louis game was pretty wet. Um, but one of the women's games, it was pouring and there was still a decent crowd, just seeing that, uh, the love for the game of soccer in this city is pretty well represented. And that's always good to see, especially with, obviously you guys, but with our pro teams as well, on both sides of them being in Lumen now. Speaking in those pro teams, I mean, some of them are still in the state here, but what can you say about, we talked about Coach Clark. Now to the teammate aspect of it, what can you say about some of your past teammates that have moved on to the pro game? I mean, Ethan Bartlow, I think, made his debut in MLS a few days ago, maybe a week
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Dylan Tevez, obviously signing a homegrown contract here in Seattle. Charlie Ostrom over with, I think he's with the second fire team. Lucas Meek, I believe, is over in Miami. Ryan Saylor, Blake Bodley is with Portland. And then Kendall signing with Chicago as well. I mean, a lot of that group right there just came out last season. I mean, how do you reflect on some of those teammates and, what they might have passed on to you, what you might have picked up from them as you continue your game?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, that was amazing with Bart, like getting his debut. I still stay in touch with him here and there. Like he sends me a text, and then out of nowhere he was like, "Yeah, by the way, you should watch the Miami game tomorrow. I'll be starting." I was like, "Wait, like, why are you dropping it like this?" Like, yeah, just like out of nowhere, I was like, "Dude, this is awesome! Congrats!" And Dylan, just saw him recently. Happy to see him. Always been close with him, so it's definitely be good. And it's Chuck, Charlie. We've always been really close, like brother to me as well. Just I would say like I've known probably Sailor one of the longest because he was here when I did my official as a freshman. He was here, and it's something that like seeing him grow as well is something that like motivates me to see like myself like where I can go in this time that I'm here at the university, and to fully take advantage of it like he did is something that a lot of guys just need to accept that their time will come. And Sailor's story is amazing. I mean, he's been here for so long. He got his shot to play center back and he took full advantage of it, and he was so ready for it. So I'm so happy for him and glad he ended up at Miami.
And so you've kind of touched on it through the entirety of this, different parts about this upcoming season. Obviously we talked about last year. You talk about, the center back move for you. What are you ultimately, I mean, I'm sure there's a couple things, so feel free to let me hear about a couple of them. What are you looking forward to this upcoming season? Obviously, I'm sure there's, I always kind of like the term unfinished business. I don't know what you use specifically, but obviously there's that. Pac-12 was always a pretty competitive conference. I'm hoping that we get more of a sense of normalcy, obviously, and getting those great crowds to continuously be there. What are you looking forward to as someone's going to be on the pitch? And obviously, again, you might have a couple of things to touch on, so feel free to do that.
I would, man, first things first, I think I'm just excited to see the crowd again. I mean, it's just, it sounds so cliche, but it's always so nice to just have people there. It's like I enjoy the crowd being there. That's something like I love putting on a show. It's something, I don't know what it is, but whenever I invited friends over to come out, that's just something I've always just been like, I need to do something crazy. And that being on the field again, and seeing how the team, I'm excited to see how the team develops from right now where we're at heading into spring to where we end up starting at the beginning of fall. I mean, there's a lot of young guys now that I see they have great potential, and I'm just so excited to see how they grow and what they do this off season. Because no matter what, I mean, we are in school, and that that summertime is actually very crucial for all of us. And it's where guys make their biggest jumps. And it's also the time where guys slip off the side. So I'm excited to see what guys do. And I mean, as much as I could tell guys to do stuff, they need to do it on their own as well. It's the maturing part of it, which I had to learn as well. Excited for that. I'm excited just to play on the game field, man. I mean, it's nothing like playing on grass again. And I mean, let's see. I'm excited just to get back and get ourselves a Pac-12 title that we've been so close to having, but yet so far. Getting all 10 games in this season would be amazing. We had the no contest called and just weren't able to reschedule again last season. And it kind of hurt just because like we were so close to finishing that game, but it was just pouring rain. So fair enough to that. And just want to get back out there and get one more title before I leave here.
So yeah, you talk about the crowd, man. I mean, obviously, again, I'm not at the playing level, but at least for me in covering these teams in this area, there really is nothing like a game day. There's nothing like it, whether it's, the atmosphere. I mean, I grew up with baseball. Baseball was my first love. Walking up to the ballpark, walking up to the stadium, there's the fanfare around it. There's the intros and everything. And, you look at you talk about the crowd, man. I mean, again, like I said, I don't give I'm not going to add the explicit to this one, but, I don't care what people say. When crowds get to a certain point, it's like I'm a kid again. That stuff is special. And, it like you said, it'll be really exciting to see, obviously pursuing that Pac-12 title. And obviously you talk about how pesky that was, whatever, with the Beavers there. But no, I think you encapsulate a lot of it. And I mean, hearing you talk about it gets me excited about it. So excited to see that. Obviously, you guys have got some spring competition, I think, still going on currently. I know you had a few last Saturday. With that being said, I always put socials down in the description just so people can check you guys out after these are done. Do you have anything that you're trying to put out there? I know Lucas Meek has a big thing he's doing, I believe, with ALS. I believe, I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, it's with ALS. His kick for ALS, he has a tournament going on, some 5v5. So I think that's in his bio. I can send it to you to put it out there. And I love to help out with that. As of right now, I will be attending to help out with that. So I will be there with him. And I'm actually, I have been working with a company the last couple months. It's been since fall, getting my own like merchandise and stuff like that. And I actually have one of my stickers right here. We got
no kidding. There we go. Okay.
So we got this in the works. I'm like a week or two from dropping the URL. But once that goes live, I'll let you know about it as well. But just pushing this brand. I got hoodies, tank tops, shirts, stickers, as you saw. Definitely got a couple of stuff coming out, and that's definitely something I've been pushing. So it's been in the work for a while, but we're finalizing everything, and hopefully we'll get it up soon and get some Gio 8 merch out there.
Yeah. I mean, by the time this gets out, we'll have that in the description, and we'll push it too, just on the socials as well on its own. I like seeing that, because I mean, I remember with all the NIL stuff. I mean, I went to school with a couple of guys who are at the university now. I don't know if you pay attention to the football team with Mish Powell, but I went to school with Mish, and I'm kind of like, hey, so when are you guys going to start pushing his stuff? I don't know what he's doing on it, but to see somebody that's got it going, hey, I like that, man. That's cool. I'm gonna have to jump on that. We'll obviously put that in there. But yes, I remember with Christian, I was able to get the link for Lucas's thing down in there. We'll do that as well with that. But no, that's cool to see. So, Gio, I appreciate it. I mean, is there anything else you want to top that with, or you think that's a good way to put it out?
I think that's a good way to put it out, Charles. I appreciate you having me on. It was actually a very great time and absolute pleasure for me.
Well, I'm really excited to see it. I mean, kind of dropped the ball on my head right when we started with the center back thing. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. But no, it's always really fun to hear these things and to hear the athlete side of it, but also to know that obviously that love of the game, that childlike love of the game is something that is always carried. So I appreciate your time, and excited to see how this season plays out when we get to the fall. I guess obviously the spring will be exciting, but I guess maybe you could say it as well, but things start, I guess, counting in the fall. But obviously these months up to it are really important. So we'll be excited to see you out there in the fall.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Charles.